Running Sentences presents Against an Angry Ocean. Part 9. Boarding Party. Discovering something amiss out in the middle of the ocean, the crew has no choice but to explore a bit. What else is there to do when they don't have control of their boat? This story is written and narrated by Michael Henry. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within the story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and or fictional businesses, characters, events, and so on is purely coincidental. Copyright 2025, Michael Henry. All rights reserved. It, at first, didn't register in Chris's mind, but there was a faint sound coming from the ship. It was metallic sounding, like chains unspooling from their spool. A moment later, his brain caught up to what was going on. We're dropping an anchor, or the computer's doing it? What is the point of that, Chris? Shouldn't we be going to the island? The bridge fell quiet as Ursula asked this, and everyone was looking around, waiting for something to happen. This might sound weird and crazy, but since everything is the way it is right now, I think we're supposed to be at where our cargo wants to go, Captain, or where this computer wanted us to go. But we should still land so we can offload the cargo, Sky. Stopping away from the island makes no sense, Kaylee added. Are those machines even bothered by water? With the captain's last comment, they all looked to one another, but it was a look of fear, surprise, and uncertainty that made it hard to see what they might do beyond this. Is the cargo bay still open? The doors, to get out onto the deck. They were closing when I got out there and had to run back once I opened up the sails. But I'm pretty sure they were closing. Maybe it was a trick of the mind. Did anyone else check them out? Everyone shakes their head no in response to Ursula. A quick and probable not so great question, guys, but should we go out there and see what's going on? I don't know about that, Kaylee. Why do you say that, Sky? Your ship would probably take off without us. It feels like that's the sort of thing that would happen anyway, if we go off exploring. That unfortunately makes a lot of sense with the way things have gone, Chris added. If we do go explore, and I'm not saying that we are going to, we can leave someone aboard. That won't stop the ship from taking off, though, Captain. Chris could feel the frustration and annoyance building up in the room. They really couldn't do much, with it seemingly backfiring in their faces potentially, and being stuck on this weird, strange island. It sounded like a terrible idea all around. Something needed to be done, so someone had to ask a few more questions, though. Our options then are to stay here and try to talk to the computer again. Is that where we're at? Chris's question just fell flat amongst everybody, but Ursula eventually turned. Computer? Her crisp, clear voice broke apart that silence that had followed. No one had wanted to speak since no one had a good idea of a way to respond to Chris's questions, which he regretted asking since he didn't have a good way to answer this either. There was no response from the computer as well, which made matters that much more complicated. What do you lot want to do? I'm open for anything, even trying to get up onto the deck to see what we can see, Sky said. That wouldn't do much, though. Nighttime is fast approaching, Sky, with the way the sun is disappearing. Kaylee had moved over closer to the window and glanced upward. What exactly are you looking for, Kaylee? The moon, which should be visible, but I don't see it, so we cannot rely on that to guide us if we are to leave this place, Captain. What if we wait until the morning, then see how things are then? We aren't going to go anywhere, even if the computer decides that we should move. We can't really stop that from happening. I guess it can't hurt, Chris, but we really don't have anything better to do. Plus, I think we're running ourselves ragged trying to keep up. So you're right. Get some food, get some rest, and in the morning we will see what there is out there on the deck. That's it, okay? Ursula ordered. With glances to each of them, they all eventually nodded yes and left the bridge. For Sky, his morning routine was to wake up and stare at the ceiling for as long as he could stand it. The morning, though, felt like it was a waste of time, since there were things to do, which he wasn't sure of, but a knock on his door also made it so that lying around wasn't exactly welcomed. He sat up and swung his legs over the bed before saying, "Who is it?"
"It's Chris. Can I come in?"
"Yeah, sure." The door opened with a clank, since the computer wasn't doing any door opening lately.
A slightly tired-looking Chris
stood in the doorway. "You don't look like you got much rest." "Couldn't stop thinking about all that's going on, so sleep was rather limited, Mr. Sky." "Sounds terrible, but understandable. What's going on that you're coming to me to talk about?" "I think I know where the ship's fuel went." "You mean you think it's still aboard the ship? Could be enough to get us home? 'Cause the only other thing that makes sense is that it leaked out, right?" "As I told you when we walked back to our rooms last night, there are a few reasons for it to go missing. I don't think it left our ship." "So where'd it go then, Chris?" "The ship's uneven keel and none of the weight has shifted according to what I saw last time things were being displayed on the computer. I think it's in the cargo hold." "We were in there, on the bottom of it. Nothing showed up,"
Sky replied.
"But what if it came in after we left and could go back down and, what if there's other cargo spaces? I don't know." Alright, did you notice this change when we left to find the computer room or something?" "No, I'm just conjecturing right now, Sky. I have no proof of anything. But the fuel couldn't just leave the ship." "Why not? What makes it an impossibility that you really don't like?" He paused and waited for Chris to collect his thoughts to get a good answer going. "I think we would have noticed it sooner. There are still the old dials and gauges that show us things, though not many things. Plus, Kaylee and I checked when the engines went down."
"Then it was a recent event. It doesn't mean it didn't spill out into the ocean."
"You said it yourself, though. The ship hasn't changed its distribution. If there were a leak, wouldn't that throw things off? It should, right?" "Yeah, I'm pretty sure it should, but..." Chris shook his head no,
in response to Sky.
"Something is off. You can't deny it, I can't deny it. We need to get to the captain with this, and see what she thinks." "Okay, but I doubt it will change anything. Her concern seems to be more about going outside to see what is going on before us, or if anything has changed out there." "A Bermuda fucking Triangle of a situation,"
Chris bitterly complained.
"Or this whole thing was set up to sink the ship, and we're just here to make sure that happens. Maybe Blue Block knew about this place?" Chris shook his head, a sort of yes, no, he didn't know sort of answer, then said, "They probably did." The two had made it as far as the cargo bay entranceway before coming to a stop. Chris had spotted Ursula studying the interior of the cargo from the window looking into it. Kaylee was there too, although leaning against the door, keeping it open to the cargo room. "Captain?" "Something the matter, Chris?" "I was about to ask you the same thing. You look like you're looking for something in there." "Yes and no. I don't trust any of this, and the hatchway doors put in or remove the cargo are still wide open. At some point they were opened, but I didn't hear anything when they were opening when I went up there, so I don't know. What's your problem?" Chris gave a quick rundown on his suspicion with the fuel. "So we're a gas bomb with unsecured fuel, is that what you're saying?" "Potentially, yes, Kaylee. The fuel has to go somewhere since it didn't stay in the tanks." "Well, one thing at a time. With these doors open, I think one of us should stay here while the other three go out to the deck. Split our forces in case something happens, and potentially the person in here can help save those outside." "I'd rather we all stay together." "Why? If I may ask, why do you prefer that, Kaylee?" "Well, it's not that I don't trust any of you. I don't trust any of you, but sorry, lots of strange things have happened, and I've been getting strange messages about the engines from engineers on the mainland. None of it feels like a good reason to split up right now." I'm actually in agreement with her. Let's all go and see what happens. Us splitting up won't solve any problems, and the computer's gonna do what the computer does,
Chris said.
Oh, I was gonna offer to stay behind, but guess I'm game for whatever. I mean, if that's the plan, Chris's suggestion is what we're going with.
Sky added.
Fine, let's go. But only to the top deck to get a feel for things out there right now. Everyone nodded and filtered their way into the cargo bay walkway, where the ladder stood, waiting for them to climb up. The warm morning sun was a welcome change for all of them as they climbed out. All around them was pretty clear and easy to see, though a few miles off it did look like that heavy fog was sitting there, surrounding them. Kaylee stretched her legs and took in a full breath of air before wandering off towards the side of the boat. The clear water below went right down 50 feet or so, without a problem of seeing any of it. Her stomach lurched this way and that, forcing her to look up and away from towards the nearby island. There was no sea life from what she could see, and it was weird. And it was quiet over there, with no signs of life from the island, but there were a lot of boats around it, and there were some palm trees to it. Is this a place we can never leave?
You think we're stuck here? Sky asked her after hearing her question.
How many old stories and fables about the ocean have crazy weird places that we can never escape from if you go to them, Sky?
Quite a lot, Chris added.
Yeah, as Chris says, there's a lot of them. I don't think we're getting out of here. I will not have that sort of talk aboard this ship. We will get out of here, you two. There's plenty of ships around here, and I don't see why we wouldn't be able to figure out how to get at least one of them out of here.
Using oars and sails, Captain?
If that's what it takes, Sky, yes. Would you rather not return home?
No big deal to me, not much to go home to, but it would be nice to get back to solid land again.
The group had all settled on staring from the bow of the ship at the nearby island that was several hundred feet away. There was this faint odor that was emanating from it, but it wasn't really distinguishable aside from the sea air, and from what they could see over there wasn't really any life. What, do you think this place is full of skeletons who are just trying to see what the island had?
That's quite possible, but all boats also look like they've been well maintained, Kaylee, so either they've been time-warped or... Someone is there, Chris? Seems likely, don't you think, Sky?
Nope. I don't think about this weirdness at all. Sounds like you and Kaylee want to go over there, though, Chris. They were interrupted by Ursula. There is no life rafts to take us to this island that I can see. Are you sure, Captain? The deck is pretty clear of anything, aside from the doors to the cargo bay and the tower to the bridge and the sails that we have. If they are here, and they should be here, I don't know where they are. Slowly the group turns away from looking at the island to look at their ship. It, despite being brand new, looked like it had seen many better days. The paint was already heavily chipping, and rust spots were forming all around. Well, I think we need to go find them then, right? Just to be able to escape? It sounded like you were against going to the island a second ago, Sky. Did something change? Huh? No, Ursula. If we need to escape, or that rescue boat you said was around finds us, we might need to get over to them, and we're out of fuel despite it being somewhere aboard the boat, so, maybe out of fuel, Sky, maybe. Well, fine, as Chris says, maybe out of fuel, but we should still know where they are, right? In case something happens. Yes, you're right. Spread out and look over the deck. They may be our only salvation when it comes down to it. Kaylee decided to keep to the railing of the ship, seeing what it would offer. Who knew? Maybe the rafts were hanging off the side of the boat. It, on second thought, seemed rather unlikely since the weather had been so thoroughly weird and rough, and if they'd been there, they probably would have washed away. Are we sure they even put them on? No, Chris, we are not sure of anything right now. Ursula's voice echoed about the air, even though it felt like it shouldn't. Kaylee, did you find anything?
I've managed to take all of a couple of steps around the side, Sky. It would be amazing if I'd found something already.
Yeah, but the sides are pretty straightforward, so you can easily see down them into the sides, Sky pointed out. It was true as she leaned a bit further over to the side to get a look. It was clear on the port side up to the front of the bow, and then she moved over to the starboard side where it looked all clear and on towards the bow and the stern of the ship.
They could be inside, right, guys?
Ursula asked.
It would be rather pointless to put them inside, don't you think, Ursula?
Well, yes, Kaylee, but we're back to the whole point that little of none of the events of this voyage make sense anymore. Well, that leaves us with the question, though. Do we need to go to this island, or figure out how to get there? Sky asked.
No, our job is to get out of here and find that rescue vessel if we can, because our new mission is to get back home. Otherwise, try and get to the nearest port if we can.
And since there's no rafts to escape with, we're staying aboard? Chris chimed in.
It's a good, 20 feet from the deck down to the water? And we don't really know how deep the water is. It looks deep, but yeah, it seems like we're staying here.
Kaylee said. And yet you were so eager to go and see what's on this island as well, Kaylee. Sky spoke up.
It's hard not to see what looks like a slice of paradise and say no to it, Sky. I mean, it is right there, but so is all those other creepy boats. That one over there looks like it could have been a Greek trireme.
You know a lot about boats. Historical ones, I mean, Kaylee.
Warships were always my little niche of things. Engines and what drives them is pretty cool to learn about. Well, this is nice and all, but I think we all need to go back inside so that we can figure out how we get this boat moving again and where the potential lifeboats might be if they're inside.
And the hidden fuel, Captain.
Yes, Chris, if you can figure that out, it would be great help.
With a disappointed sigh, since she really did want to see this island, even knowing that it was probably bad, Kaylee turned away, then paused.
She looked back and saw that there seemed to be something coming towards them, and it very much looked like a boat. It was a raft, maybe, big enough for the four of them, and didn't appear to have anybody on it. Boat.
What's that, Kaylee? Sky asked.
There's a boat approaching us, but it seems empty. I mean, it's life raft size, like all four of us could get on it, but... The group had all turned and approached the side of the boat where Kaylee stood looking over the side. And they all looked at where Kaylee was pointing off towards. Sure enough, there was a boat bobbing its way towards them, with no one on it. That really can't be good.
What can it be then, Captain?
Chris, I don't know, but if a boat with no one on aboard it comes towards you from an island that shouldn't be there, nor appear to have anyone on it, well, it's just all a bit weird.
I guess we seek safety inside then, or do we risk things and go on an adventure?
I already said what our mission is now, Sky. As tempting as this is not, we go with my orders to get back in and figure out how to get this boat moving again.
A soft thump against the side of the boat announced this raft had arrived and was tapping against their vessel. Each looked to each other, and even with that happening, Ursula began marching towards the cargo bay doors to get back inside. Chris, are you sure the fuel is still in here?
Pretty sure.
Then we should go back. There's a better option than that boat, Sky offered to Kaylee.
I know, guys, but it's still kind of cool to think about.
Home, though, Kaylee. Chris's comment drew raised eyebrows from Sky, who shook his head. You mean the storm-riddled land we now call home? Those storms that now seem to be getting worse every day? Sky offered.
Well, it's definitely better than whatever imaginative place this is. We don't even really know where this is, Sky, do we? Right. Just making sure we weren't swaying the other way when no one was looking. I couldn't tell from the way you said it whether or not home was good or bad for you.
Sky said to Chris.
Chris grunted and shook his head and began marching after Ursula. You coming, Kaylee, or are you running away to whatever it is over there? You're not going to stop me?
She asked, Sky, surprised by his question.
You choose your path. If you think it is to go to that island, then do it. You wouldn't choose to do it? Nah, it seems nice, but it doesn't call me. I'll wait up here for you for a while, if you do want to go and then come back. If you can come back, of course. You'll give me some kind of signal to say that you're leaving if I... Yeah, if I can figure one out, yeah. A thrill ran up and down her as she looked over to the side once again. The little raft was right there, and all she had to do was jump for it. Well, jump next to it. Her mind was torn for a second, but then nodded as her legs vaulted over to the side. Staring up the open bay, Ursula found herself tapping her foot impatiently. Sky and Kaylee should have already made their way down here, but they were nowhere to be seen at the moment. Sky? His image appeared in the sunlit cargo opening, peering down. Hey, I got bad news. Kaylee went to go exploring. And you just let her? Well, what's the harm, Captain? Well, we need her to help run the ship. That's the harm. I don't think I could have stopped her since she was close to the railing in the first place, and she just leapt off, so she's now headed for the island. That isn't helpful.
Probably not.
But, there's nothing to be done about it. I'll stick around here to keep an eye on things, and see if she returns. Unsure of what to say to that, Ursula stared up at him for a moment and then closed her eyes to think. Would be or could be good to have someone out there keeping an eye on things, though it was also one less person helping to find the needed things to get them moving. But that was the delegation of resources that needed to be considered. I don't like this, but keep an eye on things up there and search for any clues, please. Aye, Captain. Anything else? No, not for now. She watched as he vanished from sight, and then shook her head. It was back to work in figuring out this boat, a task she never would have guessed she'd be doing instead of sailing peacefully across the water and dealing with rough oceans. Wandering away from the cargo doors, Sky couldn't help but wonder if they were all doing the right thing. It was too late, and he'd offered Kaylee the chance, in part because he wanted to see what would happen. Still, his stomach didn't feel right at having now done it. Well, Sky, you certainly know how to put other people into situations. His words were softened to himself as he approached the railing to the ship. Out in the distance, he could make out the sight of the little dinghy life raft that Kaylee was aboard and had made it about halfway across to the island. It seemed to be moving at a good clip. She did seem to be waving back towards him, so he raised his hand in response to wave back. I hope I didn't wind up sending her on to her death. She then vanished from sight, leaving him leaning against the railing, worrying. It didn't take long for this little life raft boat to smack into the sand, landing on the island. What had looked like a tropical place with high palm trees and lots of greenery that sort of made it look lush, now looked not so great. There was a strong stench coming from it, and as far as she could see, the plant life looked brown and listless. Hey, boat, should we go back, can we? She felt silly talking to this boat, but it had been the way things had been done aboard the cargo ship, and she was used to the computer responding. There was no response to her request, leaving Kaylee to bite her lip in worry. There were no oars or anything like that in this raft, so she needed to go out and search for something to help her get back. This really hasn't gone how I thought it would, and the smells are awful. How would anyone get anywhere near this place?
Her lips curled at dealing with this scent of putrid sulfur-like smell, and not having any way out of this. She rose from her seat carefully to make sure the boat didn't start tipping her over. It was still mostly in the water, and stepped to the side. Her foot splashed a good bit deeper than she had been expecting, sending her stomach lurching for a second. Once you get off, you can't leave. Is that what you're trying to tell me, Alan? This is a place for the dead? A cold, cool breeze cut through this air, sending a shiver right across her as it came. It wasn't an answer, though it did feel like the best she might get in this situation. Her foot was still half out, and barely touching the sand at the bottom of where the water met the beach. If she withdrew it, she might never know what was here, but if she didn't, death felt like it awaited. The answer to this felt both simple and complex at the same time, and she couldn't make up her mind. Chris found himself stalking about the engine room, looking at things, but not registering them. It wasn't that he didn't want to take in what little the dials offered him. His mind was just at other places and didn't want to think about this. Come on, where would the gas go? The cargo hold is the obvious answer, so it can't be it. Worth looking into, though, just in case. The ballast? But how would they get the fuel into them, and can the fuel get back into the proper tanks? He wandered fully into one of the valves that did little now that the computer had stopped anything. It jabbed him right in the gut, sending him back a few paces. Ow, not nice. Too much thinking. Backing away a few more steps, he rubbed the sore spot and looked over the thing that he'd run into. A small, innocuous-looking valve, painted red with the word gas written on it.
His hand reached for it because...
What the hell? It couldn't hurt to spin it, could it? He didn't even know what it was for, or what it could do, but maybe it needed to be spun. In the back of his mind, he kept expecting that the computer or somebody would suddenly scream at him to stop this at once. His hand, though, was already there, twisting it gently to the right. This is probably bad. Oh, maybe not, and I doubt it. The intercom crackled to life, making him jump. Any luck down there with your job? No, where's Kaylee, though, Captain? She went to the island. What? Apparently she wanted to go check it out, and Sky decided to let her go. Not sure what anyone is thinking, but it is what it is. Well, I have this valve that I found that says gas, so might or might not do anything, but I'm going to twist it. Do you know which way to switch it on or off?
The captain asked.
He thought back as much as he could about what he'd done to any switches, valves, and other odds and ends that he could have turned. There wasn't any specific memory of this one, though, so it was hard to tell. No idea. It could have been Kaylee, or when Sky was down here, he could have done things, trying out things before. It feels like I've never seen it, though, before. Does that make a difference?
Chris questioned.
Why would it make a difference to me? I don't know, Captain, but I figured I should throw it out there. Has anything happened because of this turning? I can't tell, but I think no. Well, then keep an eye on it, Chris. We never know what can happen. Ah, Captain. The communication line went down, leaving him in a lit engine room. It felt like things should be changing, or something should be different, but nothing was really happening. I could twist some more dials and check to see if the readings have changed.
The lone question hung in the air.
Chris took a step to his right to look at one another gauges. It read oil temp, which should be cold, yet it was showing that it was warm. Well, that's not right. What's going on here? There was a soft, clanking noise coming from outside the hallway, which drew his attention. His first thought was that those robot machines in the cargo bay had come to life, but it didn't seem or sound like it. With a frown, he moved towards the hatchway, which was partially open. Hello? Anyone there? Sky? Ursula? Are you out doing weird things? It was quiet, though, now. That was until a loud thrum of the engines came to life behind him. Chris spun to see that the things were working now, as they should be. But that was wrong. Computer? Hello, Chris. You're back? I've been gone? The computer questioned. Yes, are you not aware of things? Chris asked. Hold, please. I must check my database for information. A soft music began playing out loud, which was quite chipper and joyful. It did not, Chris's opinion, suit the situation at all. Did you find an answer? Well, it appears that I've been rebooted, and I'm unsure of where we are in the middle of the ocean. Is that what you wanted to know? Sure, computer. The bridge was coming to life all around Ursula, who found the screens flickering to life, with lots of data scrolling across them. It was disturbing, and they all seemed to be booting up and coming back to life with little effort. There was even a distinct hum of the engines that were reverberating through the ship that she could feel through her feet. Ah, I hope things are well with you, Captain. Computer? Yes, Captain? Where did you go? Let me check for a second. In the meantime, how is the ship doing, and has the cargo still in one piece? Yes, shouldn't you know the answer to that? You're the one in control of everything aboard this ship. Yes, I am, Captain, but I was out of commission for an extended period of time. Please fill me in on things. I can't, really, computer. I don't know where we are or what's going on anymore. We drifted into fog for a long time, and then this boat weighed anchor, all by itself, here in front of this island. Interesting. Is it, computer? Yes, Captain. I don't know where we are, and when I talked to the cargo computer, it said something about the cargo doors being open. Well, yeah, Sky and Kaylee are up there on the main deck. Kaylee went to an island to explore and get help, potentially. Oh, I think that's potentially a bad idea, the bridge computer offered. Why? I did tell you that those machines in the hold will wake up if their transponders can get a clear communication line. Ursula waved her hand, trying to dismiss this, since everything had gone weird. It seemed unlikely that any satellite would be able to send a signal out to them. After all, they'd managed to lose a rescue ship that should be only a few hundred yards away, and, well, everything was weird. Her explanation of the computer was met with hums and haws, and when she said that to him, as you can see, it's unlikely to happen. Besides, I thought those were empty threats to make us do what you wanted us to do. She found herself distracted, though, as more data and information appeared on a nearby screen. It was telling her all about the cargo inside the bay, which looked like bad news, since it was saying that they were killer robots, and that the bay was emptying out. Computer, can you get in touch with Sky on the deck? Yes, wait one moment, please. You are now connected. Sky, can you hear me? Yeah, Captain, what's wrong? The computer and ship are operational again. There are reports on the cargo that the robots are leaving the cargo bay. Are they? She asked. Nope, don't see anything. Looks like this raft is coming back. Hold on. Communication cut abruptly, and she glanced towards her screens, all of them showing some new data about where they were. It felt confusing, and her mind felt like it was overloading with all of the worry she had. End of Part 9 of Against an Angry Ocean. Thank you for listening.